From some of the best action roles, to deeply emotional ones, to goofy offset shenanigans, Dave Bautista does it all. But you might not know that he was almost in a Fast and Furious film. Everyone and their moms know who Dave is by now. I mean, if you've ever seen a big franchise film, you've probably seen him playing an incredible role and absolutely nailing it.
I know a lot about Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
You guys, what season is this?
We'll be going into production on season 6 very soon. Yeah.
Very unique type of program.
Yeah.
He's even got some big-name films coming out later in 2023, such as the new Guardians of the Galaxy film and even the Dune sequel. Though the wrestler-turned-actor has been switching things up and going for more dramatic roles these days. You know he's got range if you see Glass Onion or Knock at the Cabin, where he does just as good of a job. I mean, he's even been in a Bond film, one of the highest honors for any actor out there. But for some reason, he decided that he just didn't want to play in the Fast and Furious franchise. All of you out there know that he would be a great fit for that franchise. He's great at playing superheroes, and most of the Fast and Furious franchise characters follow the same tropes. Not just that, but it would set him up as the perfect candidate for all major franchise films out there. Does he have something against it? Does he think it's just boring? Or was another role what he really wanted? Here's what he had to say about it. Turns out that the actor had an entire meeting with Universal about the role, but there's more to it than meets the eye.
I hope my legacy will be, I use this all the time, but the woman who cast me in Guardians of the Galaxy, her name is Sarah Finn, and I remember her speaking with such high regard about an actor named Lee Pace. And she asked me if I knew Lee Pace, and I said no, I had not met him.
Of course, he talked about the entire thing in an interview with Collider that he had back in 2021, saying that he simply wasn't interested in the role and didn't want to end up pretending that he was. Not just that, but he isn't a big fan of the franchise. Though he did clarify that he doesn't mean to say it's bad, it just isn't his cup of tea. He also added that he wants to go for roles that he's passionate about, such as those he's recently played. He even gives an example of a DC character that he would love to play. Of course, it's Bane. It was obvious. He's pretty much in shape for it already and can nail it. Though he did add that if he did get a chance to, he would make Bane come off as one of those really smart villains rather than just muscle. With all of that out of the way, he wanted one role much more than the Fast and Furious franchise, even more than Bane. The actor wanted to be a part of the Gears of War adaptation. In fact, that's why he had such a long talk with Universal in the first place, just to see if that was possible.
Oh, I heard this person got the part, that person got the part. It was just, it was very, very stressful. And when I did finally get it, I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, an emotional roller coaster sometimes when you're going after these things, and it's really tough sometimes.
As many of you might already know, or at least fans of the actor would, he's a huge fan of the series. And this isn't his first try at getting into an adaptation either. Turns out, the biggest reason for him ditching the Fast and Furious role was so he could go ahead and pitch an adaptation to Warner Brothers. But at the same time, the studio couldn't care less about it and thought that it was a waste of time. Fast forward to today, and Netflix is working on an adaptation that fans of all ages are eager for. Whatever you might think about the content that Netflix makes, it at least comes up with things that people actually want. But all of that aside, the actor has been super vocal about him wanting the role ever since the adaptation's announcement.
You know, she sent me to live with my dad when I was, I think, about 12, 13, when I was bigger than her and getting in tons of trouble.
Yeah.
So I really didn't, I didn't honestly know what I wanted to do with my life, like for the rest of my life till I was about 30 years old. And that's when I knew that I wanted to entertain people.
Unfortunately, the studio hasn't given out any news about whether they're even considering him for the film. In fact, they haven't even contacted him yet, at least at the time of making this video. Though an announcement could be coming anytime now, because honestly, who else could be a better fit? He even posted a video of himself in the iconic suit that the game has. It truly is a mystery as to why Netflix hasn't replied yet. But while you're waiting for more updates about that, here's the character he might be playing. As per Bautista himself, he's hell-bent on playing his favorite character from the franchise. It's of course none other than Marcus Fenix. The actor thinks that he could not only do a wonderful job in portraying him, but also feels like he'd be able to really bring some soul into the character. Not just that, but he's been trying to play the character for years now, even trying to get the adaptation started himself for the very same reason. I mean, he surely does deserve to be in that role. He's been trying to get it for a decade now. And not just that, but you already know he's great at adaptations and has the physique and the skills for it. For any of you that might not know about the character, Phoenix is the main protagonist from the first 3 games, the very same character that made so many people fall in love with the franchise. He is a fierce soldier who dedicates his entire life to fighting for good. You're probably seeing a big connection with some of the biggest characters that Bautista has already played, just by a single sentence.
And then when I left wrestling in 2010, I went broke, and I couldn't. So my second time around, when I made, I vowed that if I made enough money to buy our house, I would do it.
Though, does anyone even want him to play the character? Fan reactions give you a pretty good idea about that. Obviously, fans have been super excited since they found out that he could play the beloved character. In fact, people just can't imagine anyone else playing him anymore. But of course, they want someone who's actually passionate about the role to be in it. That's pretty much the only way to make any kind of video game adaptation work. All of those failed adaptations are just proof of it. Though, that's not all. Fans have also been making lighthearted jokes about how they're just going to hire someone like Tom Holland, just for the sake of getting more people to watch it. I surely hope that jokes like those don't turn into reality, along with bringing the fandom's wrath on the studio itself. Since Netflix hasn't replied to the actor, there's a big discussion going on in the fandom about this being another cash grab.
And he did. The next day we came in and we started filming, and we started to find who Urban was, and he picked up certain things that I did, and he said, I like when you do this, I like when you do that. So we kept it with those, and we drew them out more.
Fans say that they mostly pick up people who actively dislike the franchise itself just to stray from the source material, ultimately ruining the experience for the very people that would watch such content. And finally, with that out of the way, you might be wondering who's part of the new Fast and Furious film. The new film is going to come out on the 19th of May, 2023. And of course, without Bautista on board, some other prominent names are going to be in it, such as Vin Diesel as Dominic Toretto, Michelle Rodriguez as Letty Ortiz, Tyrese Gibson as Roman Pierce, and Chris Ludacris Bridges as Tej Parker. But that's not all. You've also got Jordana Brewster as Mia Toretto, Natalie Emmanuel as Ramsey, Charlize Theron as Cypher, and John Cena as Jacob Toretto, along with Jason Statham as Deckard Shaw, Cardi B as Lisa, Brie Larson as Tess, Jason Momoa as Dante Reyes, and of course Rita Moreno as Dom and Mia's abuelita Granny Toretto. And I can't forget about Daniela Melchior as a Brazilian street racer with a powerful tie to Dom's past.
I think Triple H once said to me, he said, just pretend like everybody in the locker room's got a gun pointed at your head, and it's up to you how many bullets you give them.
Oh, right. Okay, that was soft.
It's a different type of advice.
Very different.
The 10th entry is going to be split into 2 parts, and it's building up to be one of the best films in the franchise. That's been a look into why Dave Bautista rejected his Fast and Furious role.